Just quickly to describe today's discussion, we have our Master of Global Journalism students. Each one will describe her own thesis, and they will actually engage with one alumna who actually graduated in the last batch, Lara Pico, and she will explain to them what happens when you graduate and face the world. And as you can see, I mean, we are very good in gender balance. We have saved them to the end, so you can see wonderful ladies here. The floor is yours.
Hello. My name is Lara Pico, and I studied global journalism here 2010, 2012. And after I graduated, I did try to produce global journalism reports. The program has equipped me with a lot of tools that I have used in writing. But I still consider, as I considered back in 2012, that global journalism is a very beautiful utopia that I really want to see more and more in practice. I think that we need a lot of networks of professionals that are dedicated to supporting this style of reporting, and I think that this is basically one way to achieve this global journalism passion of reporting. These guys have just submitted their papers today, and I know that they have been working a lot, and they have missed a lot of parties here in town. And Örebro is not a town where you can actually have so many opportunities for having fun. So basically, I'm saying this because as a student, I had pretty much the same social frustrations as them. And then when people are new in town, they have this tendency of coming together. So we are pretty much in the same social group. And that's why I'm saying I would like to applaud them for being able to submit the thesis on time, in due time. Because it is a challenge. Madeleine, Miss Madeleine, maybe you can share some thoughts on your thesis and what you think global journalism is about in your perspective.
Should I say something about myself too? Okay. Okay, my name is Madeleine, and I'm from Sweden, and I work here as a journalist, and I also go in this class with other wonderful girls from around the world. And to me, I think global journalism is many things that we talked about today, but it's also a world that is more and more connected. And I think also, like many people have said before, that it's important that we can be open and that the big topics that concerns the world gets acknowledged. I don't really know what to say more, but I think it's important, and I have really found a passion by studying this. What's your thesis? Yeah, my thesis is about the Circus Scott, which is in Sweden, and it's a big and famous circus, and last year they decided to quit or stop using wild animals due to the animal rights debate here in Sweden. And I have studied articles to see how media and actors in these articles about them, how they're how they are presented, and how arguments in these articles could have led to this decision. And critical discourse analysis. And I don't know, maybe the topic isn't that related to global journalism, but the arguments are. And I mean, arguments are always used in media to advocate for different kind of opinions, and sometimes they are right and sometimes they might be wrong. So I think it's important to study all the things that makes media what it is.
Hi, my name is Louise. I'm from Germany, and past 6 months I've been concerned about the PISA studies and how they're covered in Germany. Just a short explanation, PISA studies are these 3 years examination of the 15-year-old students all over the world nowadays, and especially in Germany it had a big impact on the media reportage and how people see nowadays the education system. Yeah, when I think about it, we're back to Peter's concept of global journalism, because the PISA study is a global event, but apparently in Germany they only report about the national results. Of course, we're always compared to other countries, but it's not that much detailed as we do about our own nation, of course. So here, I think we have a good connection between local and global news. Yeah, and my method was also CDA, critical discourse analysis. Yeah, and I think that's all already.
Okay, my name is Eden, and I'm from global journalism as well. I'm from Ethiopia. First, to say some remarks about global journalism. Global journalism for me is an ideal way of, a beautiful way of doing journalism, but I think people should be convinced about the values that global journalism has, because journalists not always they recognize about this, because we're always focused about what is interesting for people. I mean, is it interesting to talk about climate change for some people living in the rural areas? And I think if journalists are convinced about what global journalism really is about, I think they can make the most of it, and they can make people interested in issues that they should tell them that it really matters to them, that these things are being reported. And my thesis, I did it on the Facebook's contribution to democratization in Ethiopia. As a nation with the lowest internet penetration, it has become one of the most important tools nowadays in Ethiopia to use Facebook, not only for journalists, but also for ordinary citizens who use them every day to update what is going on around them. And so I thought that it's a very important method for everyone, as we know, to keep up to date about what is going on around us. So what I did was, it's a critical discourse analysis. Of course, it's a computer-mediated discourse analysis that I did. And I tried to see whether Facebook is contributing to, as the argument goes, fragmentation, or is it contributing to pluralization? Or are we just doing, using Facebook for the fun of it? So, and also I tried to see how civil discourses are being carried out on Facebook. And also I tried to see how rational people are in discussing issues that concerning local politics. And by rational, I mean, it's not about, I didn't validate the arguments. Of course, I couldn't, because I don't have that much background in politics, but it was just to see whether people say something, they say something and they back them up with reasons, or are they just saying, oh, this is an awesome argument, or whatever. So how is it being used, and how is it helping people, is what I tried to see. And I think Facebook or any other social media tools are being used by journalists, and it's making journalists around the world connected, and I think it's a good way of doing global journalism as well.
So, well, my name is Irene, and I come from Spain. As regards some of the thoughts that my colleagues already have shared, I don't have that many things to add, basically, because I agree with them. But yeah, I would like to say as well that I think there is a leap between theory and practice in global journalism. I think, yeah, people should, journalists should be trained in global journalism in order to, to close that leap. But apart from that, I have nothing more to add. I think I've already asked before too. So, and as regards my thesis, I wanted to examine how the discursive representation of youth unemployment was done in the Spanish media in the times of crisis, in the recent crisis. And yeah, the results are pretty interesting, I have to say, basically because I chose the two national newspapers with the largest circulation and with two different editorial lines, and actually both newspapers build the same narrative, even though they have different partisanship or different political stances. And youth unemployment for them was they were talking about the origins and the nature of the problem and the actions to counteract it. It was nothing more. And then as well, I conducted the analysis of the representation of social actors, of especially the young, how they were represented within that discourse of crisis. And yeah, they don't have any other role apart from victims. Just authorities can say things. They have the authority, but they don't have any role within the political debate or the policy-making process. They are just represented as victims, and they have only voice for that. So yeah, I really believe that there is a problem with when it comes to crisis, between the media and crisis and the concept of crisis, because basically they are not democratic at all when they should be democratic. So they should kind of be an intermediate between the different parts involved. So in this case, they are not. Even though it's a problem which is involving millions of people, millions of youngsters, they are apart. They are not involved in that. So, and I don't know, I have nothing more to say, so Allah, it's your time.
Yeah, my name is Alla. I'm from Russia. About global journalism, I support Anna's view that it is a very beautiful concept, but it's very difficult to sell. And especially in Russia, freelance journalism, I would say, is not that developed. If there is no big company staying behind your shoulders, nobody will listen to you. So, and yeah, it's a very tricky moment. And my thesis is about a representation of migrants in Russian press. I was analyzing two newspapers. One is 100% state-owned, which was set by the government and which serves as a governmental voice. And another one is, I think, the most oppositional newspaper. Yeah, there is still one in Russia. And surprisingly, although these newspapers, they have nothing in common, they stay on two polar sides, political sides, they converge in the way how they perceive migrants. And in their rhetorics, when they talk about tolerance for, they don't even talk about tolerance. And when they discuss democratic values, then tolerance is not even part of this discussion. So that was surprising for me to find out that, yeah, migrants are perceived in the same negative way by both sides. And the biggest argument how they justify this way of representing them is the world trend of migrant phobia. And this is something very blurry, but this is the argument both newspapers use. So it's not we who actually do that, it's just the world trend and we just follow it. Yeah.
I guess it's back to me again. If you guys think I'm going to do the talking, you're so wrong. I think that what I notice here is that you have analyzed media instances from so many different media systems, which I think brings so much color in the program itself, because of the so many insights that you guys were able to achieve. Do you think that global journalism is mostly favorized by specific media systems? Do you think that there is like, do you think that there are just certain media systems that can allow some form of practicing global journalism? Do you think, for instance, Eden, is it possible to adopt a global journalism perspective on reporting in Ethiopia?
That's a good question. And as one of the courses we took in the program was War and Peace Journalism, and pretty much what global journalism is about is, and I did my assignment on how peace journalism could be practiced in Ethiopia, and I was pretty much pessimistic about the practicality of peace journalism in Ethiopia, because I think in most media systems where you have freedom of speech, it's easy to do peace journalism because you can ask anybody about, to substantiate your story, you have to ask people, you have to go deeper to, to the grassroots and get every angle of the story. But in my opinion, this has to be, this is more applicable to media systems where, like I said, in open media systems, where you have freedom, where people feel safe to give you any information that you need, and where also there's also the question of whether you have other tools to work on, like technology. You have to connect with people, and like, for example, if you take my example, it's like we have 1.something% of people connected to the internet, which is non-existent almost. So how do you deal with that? You have to be able to have several people to substantiate your story. So I think it's really difficult. It's a gloomy picture that I'm drawing, but that's the reality.
I just have a comment about the whole idea of the program of the global journalism. The two challenges that I see for myself as a journalist who will come back to Moscow, for example, and will search for the job, is like there are two aspects for the journalism in the digital age, let's say. One is practical, how to use new technology and how to be able to manage with coding and all that stuff, though you don't have a degree in engineering. And another one is all those new concepts and ideas. And I think actually the practical issue is not that difficult, so you can learn all the programs, and I think it's not that difficult to to show to your colleagues that this really works, and you can probably even teach them. But which is more difficult is to engage them with those new ideas that you have, because you get so much inspiration here. You learn about this concept of global journalism, about war and peace journalism, and you feel so like, oh, this is the whole new world, and then you go back to your office, and then your editor doesn't really want to hear, like, if you talk about some digital gadgets, yeah, okay, you can do what you can do, but about all these ideas and concepts, and this is really difficult to change the ideological perspective of the profession.
I agree with you. I think that, well, from my little experience as a journalist, I've mostly been freelancing. So even as a freelancer, I thought I would have like a lot of freedom to write. If I came up with an angle and the editor was like, yeah, I think this is a nice angle, go on and write about it. But then in the end, my voice would probably be maybe some 10%, because even as a freelance journalist, you have to adjust very much to what the editor says. So you do follow an agenda, an external agenda, either way. I think that even as an independent journalist, you might think that you have so much freedom, whereas you don't. Not when you're trying to sell the article. Or maybe Anna has a different view here. I was actually planning, or yeah, I had the intention to ask you, why a freelance journalist when you have so much background? I mean, this is also like good for us to know, because we are either aspiring journalists or part-time journalists or journalists. And then I was wondering, for instance, why, if we could choose, should we choose to be freelancers or should we choose to be institutionalized? That's what I think. I think we should have salaries, like a monthly income as journalists. And then this was one of the points where I was trying to get in this discussion. Ever since I graduated, I have had hard times finding a work as journalism, and global journalism. The program has opened some doors because there are people who are interested in seeing, especially if you are planning to live in Sweden, it's a very good thing to be able to show that you have Swedish education. And then when they see something that to them sounds exotic, like global journalism, they are going to call you for an interview. So I think that, first of all, it is a door opener. And if you do have the chance to be working as full-time professionals, do it. I've mostly freelanced, and that was because I wanted to work in Sweden as a journalist, and then due to language barriers, I got to work as a freelance. But then you need to know people. And in order to know people, you need to be able, to some sort of extent, at least in my own experience, to be able to create networks. I think I just said the same thing, actually. To create networks, you need to build trust. To build trust, I think you need to be able to speak pretty much the same cultural language, so that you create a closeness, I think. At least that was my experience in Sweden.
Yeah, but this is actually recently what I've been experiencing. Because when you start searching for a job, especially here in Sweden, mostly they want native speakers. And that's something I have been thinking of since Irina mentioned the point of global media houses. I mean, like, which language should we speak there? Is it Swedish, German, Spanish? But actually, I think it should be English. But how many newspapers have an international section where they actually write in English? I mean, after 2 years, you can't be speaking or writing in Swedish as a professional because, of course, our language is not good enough. So I would rather go for a job where I can write in English, where I feel more confident in, instead of trying to write Swedish articles.
You know what I write? You know what I do? I always write my articles in Swedish, in English. Then I Google Translate. Then because I am able now to see where my flaws are, I'm like, oh, stupid Google Translate, I cannot trust you 100%. And then I start editing, and then I submit the text to one of my Swedish friends, and they're like, oh, good, just a few mistakes, so it's good. Then I can submit it to the editor. And then the editor goes like, you're not lagom, Claudia. which I don't know if you're aware to the lagom, people who are not Swedish. I don't even know if there is a translation for lagomness. I think it's how to be modest and how not to think that your nose is bigger than it actually is, right? Or something like how to be, but it is like this. I mean, how to not consider yourself an expert, how to be basically you, like a natural person natural individual who can be nice. So, lagomness, as far as I see it, is the capacity of speaking the language that all people understand. And because I am Romanian, and because I studied languages, and I worked as a communications professional, and I guess it sort of came with a profession that I was gonna sell the texts, sell very exciting texts, I would be using a language, or I tend to use a language that's not understandable by all people. And then my Swedish editor goes like, simplify. So what do you mean by this? This is a very complex word. I had to Google it. So it's also one thing. If you're thinking about writing in Swedish, you have to be able to speak a very common and easy language. So I think that the last section in many newspapers could work as a very good guide for getting used to the language and to the culture as well.
But Claudia, actually, I wanted to say it the whole time to you because seeing that you studied global journalism, now, I mean, even 2 years later, you're still here, you managed to get a job in media in Sweden, in Örebro. I think that's amazing and can give all of us hope.
I managed to get a lot of jobs. I'm working with projects. I'm not institutionalized.
I mean, you guys don't understand that you're in Sweden. Do you know how many permanent positions I've been offered? No. Zero. Never, ever. And I do speak the language, and I've worked for 7 years. So, come on, Sweden is messed up. It's not you. It's us. That's what I want to say. Don't get disappointed. I mean, it's a small country. It's very provincial, and you know there are way too many journalists already and knocking on the door, and the editors don't have time to check out what they know or if they're good at what they're doing. They take their friends instead because everyone is unemployed anyway. And this is how it works here. I mean, I'm sorry, just it might be a global problem. Maybe we should write about this. But I just want to tell you guys, there's nothing wrong with you. It's the system.
Maybe then we so much. I would like to say something now that, because we have been talking a lot about professional journalism, about working as journalists, but I think this program gives lots of theoretical insights. And as well, that's my personal view, I think you can pursue as well doctoral studies with this master program. And that's my aim now, because there are lots of things to research. All the changes, the hybridization, you know, between social media, new technologies, all these changes. I think there are lots of things that you can research and that need to be researched in order to understand and to change routines and to, you know, the same with the concept in peace journalism. It's the same issue. You need to research and to examine how that is done in the media in order to change it. If you want, I mean, in order to change routines. I don't know, and in the context, the actual context, I mean, the current context of the crisis, yeah, I didn't say it before, I just forgot, but I wrote my thesis about youth unemployment basically because I lived firsthand that, and that's why I'm here in Sweden. And it's really frustrating when you are in a country where there are people like you, like thousands, and either you are overqualified or the job they offer you, it's super underpaid. So what shall you do? I mean, if the system is already flawed, what shall you do? I mean, I don't know, that's my perspective when you were saying as well about unemployment here in Sweden. Like, come on, go to the south, and then you will see what's unemployment when you have like almost 25% unemployment. That's pretty bad. And when you have lots of people with high profiles, and lots of journalists in Spain too, and no chances at all. So this is my, I don't know, like, reivindication.
Well, I can't say that there is there are very big difficulties to find job in Moscow, for example, in journalism. but then you should choose. Either you work for, most probably for the governmental, or affiliated with the governmental media, or you work for some oppositional websites which have some influence on public opinion, but probably which will pay you 1 year after, or even later, if you will still be alive. Yeah, so there is not that high rate of unemployment, but then you have only like one and less than a half ways to go.
Yeah, but it's the media system, what we were discussing. It's the media system, the Russian media system. Doesn't provide any chance. So.
Aren't we running out of time already?
Would you like to ask questions?
Okay. I want to ask, have you guys tried to approach media in your own countries, suggesting that you report about stories in the Nordic countries? I mean, we have our fair share of scandals here. We have our... if you think about it, there are hot topics around here that you guys are pretty close to. You can just lift the phone and bring up our politicians. They're easily accessible. Have you tried?
I didn't contact the media in Romania. So,
Well, I tried, I can tell, but these are two specific areas where I tried. The most popular topic, at least in Russia, it's energy or energy resources. And the media I was working before, it was economic department at the news agency, and all my contacts are in that sphere. So all the stories they wanted was about oil, gas, and so on. And of course, they were telling like Sweden. No, it's not on this oil and gas map. Come on, it's just using the sophisticated wind and sun, and so no. In this case, it was not an interesting country, and. I was doing like once in a week. I'm doing. I'm searching for the, let's say, funny news, what's going on in Sweden, and for the news that were, let's say, that got most likes on social media. But it's just like it's for me for fun, and it's for the Friday TV shows, that people just watch to have a rest before the weekend. And in that case, you can find some crazy people doing different stuff. But of course, it's nothing serious like about big scandals and so on. And I just to add, I have my own theory about this interesting countries and not interesting countries for media. And unfortunately, I think Sweden, at least in Russia, is not considered to be interesting. It's just like first people don't know much about it, although it's close, And second, people just think that everybody here is so happy and rich that they don't even have anything to report about. So, yeah.
Okay, can I say something? I don't really have the benefit of a third language like you guys do. I only have Swedish and English, so that I think would be a really good benefit. But also I think global journalism is a lot about taking something local and then maybe adding a global twist to it, just like Bergler said before. And I've been trying to do that a lot when I worked here as a local journalist, and it actually works. Because I think the thing is that you have to show, maybe not too severe topics, I don't know, but that you show that it affects people on more levels than one and in different ways, so that you can show that people, I don't know, for example, the EU election that's coming up this Sunday, how it affects Sweden if we vote for this, and how it affects people outside of Europe also, because it's all connected. So I think that's a way to approach global journalism on a level that can be accepted more easily.
I had a comment here. When it comes, when it comes to this issue of finding jobs, I think that in our program, what we can do better is also to help you out to, to establish contacts with our alumni. Because, I mean, we have more than 100 ex-students in more than 50 countries. And many of them, end up with very good jobs. They ended up in BBC, different state media, even Al Jazeera. We also have even media owners. So that might also, I mean, we could to greater extent help you with by using the alumni network. It might open some doors, because I mean it's all about connections.
But then once again, we have been talking about the connection between journalism and social media, and as far as I see, journalism is the future for journalists is not that bright, I have to say. So that's also a problem I've been thinking about, because in contrast to Irena, I'm not planning to have an academic career after I graduate, hopefully. So I'm looking for a journalistic job. But when I look into the future, and of course, I mean, newspapers are declining, I mean, printed newspapers. So it's also something we have to consider now as the new generation of journalists. Do I have rather a public Facebook profile, twittering every 5 minutes, having my own blog, instead of trying to find a job at in a newspaper or something? So that's something I'm thinking about a lot these days, especially as now the unemployment is waiting. Yeah, but I don't know what the girls are saying, or do we want to take the next question?
All right. All right, very quickly, because we're running out.
Something, because you've been talking about freelance. I think freelance is independence, and independence is power also. There is a movement that's in Germany, I found it online, it's called Freelancers' Right Movement, and you can find it online, you can download the booklet, and you can join them actually, since you're in Europe and it's easier for you than for me. freelancemovement.org, and you can download their booklet, it's open source online, and you can join them, and you can become also part of the group, and you can lobby around the world, and you can find your own media outlets, you can create your own media outlets. So I think you should do something like this.
All right, and by that, join me in thanking this wonderful panel.